Hello everyone and welcome to today's video. My name is Reagan. I normally do book content and today is going to be another book video. Today we have my June wrap up. I read 15 books in June. My average star rating was a 3.23, so a very mid reading month. I also towards the end got in a huge book slump and I'm still in one, so we're working on it. We're going to try and speed run this because I need to go to work. We're just going to start with the books. This is my whole stack. I'm not going to do them in the order of which I read them this time. I don't know. I'm just not feeling it this month. I want to switch it up. Before I start those books, these are two books that I'm currently in the middle of and could potentially finish today. The Wishing Game by Meg Schaefer. I'm hoping to finish this today. I'm like almost halfway through this. And then we have Not in Love by Ali Hazelwood. I probably won't finish this today. I think I'm going to finish this today. Technically, this is going to be wrapped up. In June, I read Leather and Lark by Brynne Weaver. This is the second book in the Ruinous Love trilogy by Brynne Weaver, and I rated the first book, Butcher and Blackbird, 5 stars. I absolutely loved it. I read the second one. It was slightly disappointing for me. Not disappointing, I had a good time. It just didn't live up to Butcher and Blackbird, which would be hard because that's my 5-star read of the year, like one of my best books of the year so far. I rated this one a 3 stars. I think one of my main problems with this book, when we were like halfway through with the book, I felt we didn't know our characters as well as we did in the first one. I didn't really understand Lark. I didn't really understand Lachlan either. I just didn't understand them and know them as well as we did with the characters in the first book, which is why I think I rated the first book so highly. I feel like also with the romance, there was nothing at all for the first half and then everything all at once in the romance aspect, which is why I had a little bit of a harder time connecting to this book, but I still enjoyed it and I still can't wait to pick up the next one. As Good as Dead by Holly Jackson. This is the third book in the Good Girls Guide to Murder series. I read this month as well. I kind of forgot everything that happened already. Don't know if it was really supposed to be a plot twist in this book, but if it was, I guessed it. The ending was kind of slightly unfinished, which I think there's a novella after this book that you can read. I don't know if I'm going to though. I'm not that invested in it. I'm glad I got this read and off my TBR. It was fun, it was entertaining, but nothing that really stuck in my head. This month I read 3 of Hannah Bonham Young's books, all 3 of them. The first one I read was Out on a Limb by Hannah Bonham Young. This is the one that everyone has been talking about over TikTok. I rated this a 4 stars. It was really fun, it was cute. It was very different from a lot of the other romances I've read. It was good and I would recommend it, but it didn't really stick in my head. Wynn was very relatable, Beau was very cute, and I loved him as the guy in this book. I see why a lot of people rate this 5 stars, but it just wasn't there for me. Next one I read was Next of Kin. This was probably my least favorite of the 3. This is about Chloe and Warren. This was the shortest one by far. It was only like 200 pages. I feel like the romance developed really quickly in this one. It was cute. I rated it 3 stars, but it was definitely my least favorite of the 3. Last I read Next to You, which was my most favorite of the 3. This follows Lane and Matt. It's kind of connected to Next of Kin a little bit, like interconnected standalone vibes. They're really close friends. It's friends to lovers, which I never like friends to lovers, so the fact that I liked this Friends to Lovers is crazy. I actually cried a little bit at this book. Like there was a lot of talk of grief because Lane's father died, and I did in fact tear up, which I don't tend to do during reading a book. Lane was a very relatable main character to me, which is why I feel like I gravitated towards this one much more than the other 2. And Matt was like my dream man. The way that he treated Lane and the way that he was with Lane, if you are going to read any of Hannah Bonham Young's books, I would say pick up this one if you haven't already. It was just beautiful and I really enjoyed it. One of my favorite romances of the year so far. Oh, I forgot to say, this I rated 5 stars. I would maybe bump it down to a 4.5, but round it up to like a 5 stars on Goodreads. Next I read Funny Story by Emily Henry. I rated this 4 stars. I really love the small town vibe, the characters. I think this was probably top 3, maybe even top 2 of the Emily Henry books I've read, which are pretty much all of her romance fiction type books. I underlined a lot of the like writing in this book. The quotes that she had were so beautiful. I took a lot of pictures of them too. Emily Henry's writing was just really gorgeous in this one, and that's something I picked up on, which I haven't really picked up on in her past books. I really enjoyed my reading experience with this one. The banter was also eating in this book. I think I really attached well to the main characters and I really liked liked the main characters, which is very helpful. Another thing that I really loved about this was like the small town vibe. She's like a librarian, which I love, and he's like a bartender. Like the small town vibes were just immaculate. There were so many like side characters that were in the small town that kind of gave like Gilmore Girls in a way, that everyone is like together and they stick together and they all have their little niche things that they do. I also read A Long Time Coming by Megan Quinn. This finished out the Kane Brothers trilogy. This I rated 3 stars. It was probably one of my least favorites in the trilogy, if I'm being honest. This book was friends to lovers, and there was like another boyfriend in the beginning of the friends to lovers aspect, which was really pissing me off because he was obviously just a plot device, which like, is that an effective plot device? And yeah, it worked, sure, but it was really making me mad, and I didn't want to be mad at this book. I wanted to like it. I think the main issue I had with this book, which was literally part of the book, but it's just something I don't like to read, is when the main character cannot realize their feelings. Like a lot of the times in romance books, you'll have the main character realize that they're in love with whoever the other person is before they outright say it, and like early on. You know, like you can realize that you're getting attached to someone without having to be like, I'm in love with them. They didn't realize their feelings towards each other until it was like way too late. I feel like they had a lot of history that we didn't see on screen or on page. I really enjoy Megan Quinn's writing, and I'm definitely going to be picking up more of her books in the future. I read The Graham Effect by Elle Kennedy. This is the first book in the new series by Elle Kennedy that's following like the children of the off-campus and Briar U books. I rated this a 3 stars. It took me a little bit of time to get into, but after I got into it, I had a lot of fun. I really enjoyed the banter between our female main character and our male main character. Sports romance just really ups the ante almost. Gives the romance some stakes that I feel I enjoy. It makes it more fun. There's something to grab onto other than the characters, which if the characters are a little bit weaker, makes it easier to like get into the book. I really enjoyed this. It was fun. I'm definitely going to pick up the other books in the series. I don't remember much about it, not really. I just remember there being a lot of Garrett Graham, and then do I even remember it was Gigi and then Ryder was it. It was also pretty thick, but I read it on audio, so it was okay. The next 5 books I read are all part of the Jacksonville Rays universe, or it's like series. We've got 3 novellas and then the 2 main books. I'll start off with the 2 main books and then we'll talk about the novellas. I read Pucking Around and Pucking Wild by Emily Rath. I definitely prefer Pucking Around to the second book. I rated this one a 3.5 and I rated this one a 3. These are sports hockey romances that mainly just contain spice, if we're being honest. Were they fun and I'm going to pick up the rest of the series? Yes. Was there anything of substance in here? No. Am I glad I read them? Yeah, it was entertaining. It was fun. I enjoyed it. It was exactly what I thought it was going to be, which like you kind of have to go in with that expectation. I just feel like the characters were more fleshed out in this book and we had a lot more time with them. We got to know them a little bit better than this one. Now, talking about the novellas that go in between these, there are 3. That One Night by Emily Rath is the first one. It's like the prequel, 0.5. I rated this one a 3 stars. It's just like the initial meeting between our inciting characters, like the inciting incident. This is probably my favorite out of them. It gave you something to attach onto the characters with in the very beginning. Then we have Pucking Ever After Volume 1 and Pucking Ever After Volume 2. This goes after book 1 and this goes after book 2. These are just like side stories or like even future epilogue type vibe. Are these necessary? I'd say no, not right now. Maybe it will be in future books when the next book comes out. Maybe they'll reference things in here. An extra little snippet of the character. So if you really love the series, I would say pick it up. If you don't really care and you read the first book and you're like, that's all I wanted, then I wouldn't pick these up. I rated both of these 2 stars. I feel like they just weren't super necessary for me because I didn't care as much, but I'm glad I read them. Am I glad I own them? Were they kind of a waste of money? Maybe. The last 2 books I have to tell you about are in here. This is Bad Blood, and within this there's a novella at the end called 12. First I read Bad Blood, which is like the last book in the Natural series. I really enjoyed this series. I rated this a 4 stars. It's kind of like a 4-star series overall for me. I think this is my favorite YA mystery series I've ever picked up. It was a really good ending, but I definitely wanted to pick up the novella when I had finished it for like a more final feeling, a finality, if you will. Answered all my questions. We got a lot of resolutions with the characters. We got to see a lot of content with each of the characters. Then I picked up 12, which is in like the last little portion of this book, and I gave that one a 3. It was like a novella of a future case. It happened within like 24 hours. It was a fun little extra character moment. It gave some resolution, like kind of an epilogue vibe, what the characters were doing in the future and how the program was doing and everything. It's just really fun. I would totally recommend. I would also recommend you read the novella. It was worth it in my opinion, but I was also very attached. Definitely pick the series up if you have a chance. Don't be scared of like gore or anything scary. It really wasn't that. Those are all the books I read in the month of June. That is crazy. That was 15 books. Fun month. I am still in a reading slump, so I'm trying to chug my way through some books, but it's okay. We're getting through it. I hope you guys had a good June. Let me know what you think of these books in the comments, or let me know what you read this month. I have a Goodreads and a Bookstagram if you're interested in following me on there. Like, comment, subscribe. Check out all my other book content on my channel, and I hope to see you in the next video. Love you. Bye.